Good afternoon, everybody. It's Dee here. Apologies for no video for last week. I was actually away on my holidays, but back in rainy old England now for a little while longer until we go off again. Hopefully soon back into the sunshine again. So, what did we miss last week? Well, we had a lot of Leo action, which is still going on, with the kind of pile up of planets in Leo. So Sun, Mercury, Venus and Mars, all being in Leo. But that all changes this week when we start to move towards the same thing happening, but all in Virgo. So we start the month with everything, all the personal planets in Leo, and then we end them with all of them in Virgo. So this week sees the taster of that, with Mars being the first to move. So what can we expect from that sort of shift in energy, that shift in Mars energy? Well, we're going away from that kind of more self-centered, all about me, big dramatic kind of Mars energy into the much more practical, quieter, more productive world that is Virgo. I personally have Mars in Virgo. Mine's obviously tempered because of my generation by Uranus and Pluto, which obviously makes a difference. And that's an interesting conversation in itself, is to talk about how generational planets and slow-moving planets can colour personal planets for people for generations. So if you look at anybody who's born at the moment, they will have Pluto in Capricorn. So anybody who's got a sun in Capricorn will have contact in some way with that Pluto, and also with Saturn as well. So that means that anybody born in these couple of years will not ever have Capricorn standing on its own. It will always be with Saturn and with Pluto. And for my generation, it was Uranus and Pluto were mine, and that happens to hit on my Mars in Virgo. So even though I'll be describing the Mars energy, it isn't necessarily purely my Mars energy, because like I say, I get a boost up the behind from Pluto, which adds extra razzmatazz to my regular Mars in Virgo. So what is it about Mars in Virgo? Well, Mars in Virgo is likes to be useful. I think that's the most important thing about it. So with that shift in Mars energy, it's like, as they kind of wanting to be of service to people, wanting to be useful, being practical, so it's much more down to earth, being an earth sign, obviously. And people think of Virgo often in very quite negative terms, because it's nitpicky and cynical and critical and all of those things. But the thing is, it's about finding the best choice. So it is critical, yes, but it's like as if it's like sifting the wheat from the chaff. So it's always looking for the best things and throwing away the things that aren't as good. So it's, if you have Mars in that particular sign, or say, just obviously in general with the transit in Mars, it is about being the best of yourself, making the most of your skills, making the most of your practical applications for things, and as they finding a way that you can be of service to others. So think about those things for the next 6 weeks while Mars is there. If you, like me, have got Mars in Virgo yourself, that will bring an added boost to that. So the upside of that is extra energy, feeling really on top of your Mars game. If you particularly work in an area that is of service to the public, you might find that that's particularly good for you at the moment, and over the next 6 weeks. Say, being able to find the best version of whatever it is that you're aiming to do. So if you're striving to be creative, then it might be about finally hitting on the one thing that you actually approve of, and it's hard doing that when you've got Mars in Virgo, because you're always very critical of yourself no matter what. Nothing is ever perfect. There's always more that can be done. So we see that Mars energy change, and that sort of whole Leo picture of being the centre of attention, being the dramatic, the big, the loud, beginning to come to an end. I say as all those planets all change over to being into Virgo, and things sort of becoming a lot quieter, and it's not about me being the centre of everything. It's about, say, being of use, being of service to others. So that's our first shift this week. The other thing that is a big one is the fact that Jupiter is finally going direct on the 12th, which is tomorrow. So it's into its final act in Sagittarius. So it's full steam ahead now until December the 5th, when it changes sign into Capricorn. So any of the things, any of that you wanting to do where your Sagittarius is in your chart, need to be done now. You need to strike. Obviously, while it's been retrograde, you might have been planning or going back over things, revisiting things, making decisions about where you want to go. But now it's the time to go big or go home. You've just got to get out there. You've got to do those things, take the opportunities. Obviously, the Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, so Jupiter is in its own sign, so it likes being there. So anything that you're making in terms of decisions is super highlighted. We only get this every 12 years, so make the most of that area of your chart, say where Sagittarius is, and that Jupiterian energy shining down on you. Obviously, over the last couple of months, it's been all about transformation, difficult transformation, being pulled apart and put back together again with the Saturn Pluto stuff in Capricorn. With Jupiter, it's much nicer energy. It's the kind of rolling a six every time every time you have a go, so that the odds are in your favour to do certain things. So it depends what area of your chart is highlighted by that Sagittarius energy. So say, for example, you're fortunate enough to have Sagittarius in the 10th house. It could be that, it's taking those opportunities with your career. So maybe looking for promotions, new job opportunities to come up. And if you've been contemplating over the last few months actually making a move, then now is the time to do it, when Jupiter goes forward tomorrow. So start getting those feelers out, talking to people, and see what is actually out there for you. If you were looking at somebody with Sagittarius second, that could be, in the area of foundations, opportunities for money. So, it could be about putting things into savings, looking for ways in which you can grow your money. It could be that investing in something of value, because obviously second house rules value as well, in monetary terms and in general terms. So, if you're thinking of investing in something, now would be the time to do that. So that would be for the next, what are we on now? August, September, October, November, December, 4 months at least, where you can make the most of that Sagittarian energy before it then goes into Capricorn in December. And obviously it won't be as happy there as it is in the sign of Sagittarius, although, it still has its benefits and has its rewards just the same. It's not going to be as easy, because obviously with Jupiter going into Capricorn, it'll be joining Saturn and Pluto too. So Jupiter in Sagittarius has been one of the highlights of 2019 and has helped a lot with the heavy weather. So we've had these kind of like moments of blue sky in and amongst all the clouds that have been happening. And while all these things are for our own good, even though they don't seem like it at the time, it is sometimes nice to have things a bit easier and to be able to throw that six each time. So yeah, go big, go home, make the most of it. Check out where Jupiter is for you, and think about how you can make the most of that final stint, that's kind of run of energy in Sagittarius for the rest of this year. I'm just going to go and shift myself up a little bit. Right, so next thing. Mercury is finally out of its shadow phase as well tomorrow. So another good indicator of things sort of going forward and wanting to be going in the right direction. So if you've been putting off doing certain things, I always say to people, don't buy electrical goods, don't buy cars, don't buy computers while Mercury's retrograde in its shadow. You can go ahead. As of tomorrow, and particularly say if you're looking at making the most of that Jupiter, particularly if you got it in the second, investing in some kind of item there that could be of benefit to you in the long run. The only thing that stands out for me that could be problematic with Mercury finally moving out of its shadow and moving forward into Leo is that it will highlight again that square with Uranus. So yes, there's a lot of Uranian vibe this week. So obviously I'm moving on to the full moon in Aquarius as well to talk about, which happens on Thursday. But and also Uranus moving, stationing to go retrograde as well. That's the other thing. So there's a lot of big sort of Uranian pieces going on this week that we need to be thinking about. And what it made me think about was obviously Mercury's now picking up speed and moving forward again, and then Uranus moving backwards and encountering each other. It could be because the square, it might be those unexpected bumps in the road in terms of ideas and thinking, and maybe people being not being on your side, maybe sort of throwing a bit of a spanner in the works for you. Or it could be you doing that yourself. Maybe you've been thinking about making those changes and revolutionising that particular area of your chart where Uranus is transiting now. So just as I was saying that, look at the area where Jupiter is at the moment. You should also do that for any of these big slow-moving planets, because they will highlight those houses for anything from 12 months with Jupiter to being 12 years with Pluto. So it is worth checking out in your chart which areas are going to be the ones that are going to have the focus on them when with these planets are there, and particularly when you get into at the beginning of a sign, because we don't know where things are heading. You don't know yet. You've not sort of felt out the territory. I mean, with them moving backwards and forwards as they do over a number of years in some cases, you will sort of make some headway with certain things and then having to go back and revisit them before you then can go forward again and move on to the next step. And I think that's particularly true with this Uranus retrograde, because obviously it switched signs earlier this year into Taurus. And so we're only just beginning to see what that landscape will look like. So with it being the sign of Taurus, Taurus is a very slow sign, so Uranus isn't very happy there anyway. It's going to be, it's not going to be easy making those changes, and it might be quite uncomfortable. And I think, particularly for early fixed sign people who are going to have to encounter this Uranian energy, they're going to find it hard. I mean, your Aquariuses are probably going to find it as easier than the others, because obviously being ruled by Uranus. So it's got to be thinking about so this kind of Taurus values, Taurus loving the sensual part of the world, beauty, those kind of things. So where the revolution's going to be in those terms. On a societal level, I think that one of the things that's coming out already is the idea of body positivity, and accepting different sorts of bodies as being beautiful, and that would be a great shake-up, a really positive shake-up for lots of women and men too, to think of, to be accepted for who they are. And obviously, Taurus can be quite a weighty sign. So, this idea that you don't have to be thin to be beautiful could be one of the things that comes out of having Uranus in Taurus. It's the idea that beauty comes in all shapes and sizes, and we need to change our attitude towards that and think of, that beauty doesn't necessarily have to be defined by one particular look or style. So that's a very positive use of that kind of revolutionary energy there. In terms of the Mercury encounter with it this week, Mercury is the lower vibration of Uranus. So these two kind of like a twin, related, like sister brother kind of thing. So Uranus is the higher thinking, it's the forward thinking, it's that revolutionary, mad scientist working out new formulas for curing diseases, or sending people off to different planets, or all those kinds of things. So it could be that we're not yet ready to process those kind of revolutionary ideas. And it could be that when it hits on Wednesday and Thursday this week, we might encounter that outside in the outside world. Like maybe our thinking isn't ready yet for that kind of new wave of Taurus, Uranus in Taurus energy yet. We need to be changing our mindset to be able to process what it is trying to tell us. Because while Uranus is going backwards, you say when any planet goes backwards, it's about revisiting, going over things again, making sure that these new ideas are sticking within us, and that if there is resistance, that's where we're going to encounter problems. So look where Taurus is in your chart, and where that will hit. And that will tell you where you will have to be making those changes, making that revolution. And are you ready for that? Are you ready to make those changes? And the chances are, with it being in Taurus, that you're not, because say it's very slow to change. So if you are quite fixed yourself, that's the harder that's going to be for you. But I think having the awareness of planetary movements can help with it, even if you don't like it. I think if you can be prepared for when it's going to hit you, that in itself makes it a bit easier. So so Uranus is encountering Mercury. So they think about, they could be coming through dreams, through thoughts, writing, any forms of communication. Look at where it is calling you forward and where you will need to be making those adjustments to your thinking processes and to your existing ideology. It's about making those changes and moving forward. We can't stand still. We've got to move with the times. We've got to change if we are to be successful, out there in the world. So so that's a little bit on Uranus. Say it'll be retrograde until January, when it will then start moving forward again, and when it'll be shortly followed by Saturn moving into Aquarius for the first time as well, a couple of months after that. So moving from this awful slow breaking with tradition that's been going on with the Saturn and Pluto energy, getting rid of the old guard, the ones that have been hanging on for grim death, to these old ways of being, and these old-fashioned ideas that we need to be rid of for once and for all. And so having that kind of reflective time between now and then to be thinking about, well, where do I need to change? Where does those changes need to happen for me, so that I can keep up with where society will be heading in the future, and me personally. So my last little bit that I want to talk about this week is the full moon. So we have the full moon on Thursday in Aquarius, and it's about, any full moon's about sort of redressing the balance with the sun and the moon. So thinking about things from the other perspective. And like I say, it's been very heavy on the Leo side for the last few weeks. That and we've certainly all needed that kind of ego boost, big, loud, dramatic energy that's, you know, comes with, you know, the big-hearted Leo vibe that's been going down. But now it's saying with that full moon this week, we've got to balance that me out with us. And Aquarius is about me and my tribe, me and my society, my culture. Who do I identify with? Who are my people? And so it's saying, yes, it's been lovely having that kind of me time, and that kind of putting myself full in the full spotlight and centre stage. But now it is time to be thinking about, well, how can I use that to benefit others, and to be, you know, to be with my tribe and to be with my people. So if you have been going too much towards the me, myself and I, you might get that kind of jolt back into the, remember, you are also part of a tribe, your people as well. And that, you know, you are beholden to others, and others have their needs as well. So depending on how your relationship is with the Leo Aquarius axis, so if you've got fixed signs, it's in sort of in the middle of the sign where it's hitting, then obviously you're going to feel those more strongly. But again, always look to the house. Look to the house as where these things are happening. So for me, I've got mine, it's the 1st, 7th one, so it's me in here and you out there versus you out there, very much so. So, you know, thinking about others, thinking about my relationship with others, particularly those significant others, and how I can balance out me in here with you out there. So make sure that you're having a look, make sure that you know where those houses are hitting. And I always think it's really nice around new moons and full moons, if you can, to do little rituals of celebration or acknowledgement of these things, of these energies. So, you know, you can take time out to say thank you to the universe for the things that it's bringing you. That, you know, to highlight how you feel about your place in society and the universe. So it's concentrating, say, it's about them out there, and how I fit in with that, and being thankful for humanity and people and ways in which you can show that. So if you're looking at Aquarius, I think of it as the colour sort of turquoise or purple. Electric blue is a good Uranian colour. As is purple's a really good rebellious, revolutionary colour, I always think. So if you can find candles of that colour or fabric that you can put across your altar if you have one, so that you can celebrate that side of yourself and what that means to you. So yes, so that's me done for this week. For me, it feels very Uranian this week, and it's kind of, let's say, balancing out that all that Leoness we've had, all that kind of me centre stage stuff with things out there, and what we need to do as people to be kind to each other, to be close to each other, to recognise ourselves in others. I mean, there's been so much talk recently in this country and in America about difference and people wanting to be better than others, supremacy, which is very Leo. I am better than you are. And Aquarius just reminds you that we are all important. We are all equal in the universe. We all have loves and wants and needs, and we all need shelter, we all need food, we all need kindness. We all have experiences that make us the same, no matter whether you are a billionaire or a homeless person on the street. You know, there are things that make us all human beings, and that we should always make sure that we value others for their humanity and the similarities. It's about, I recognise myself in you, and I can see that in you. You are not something that is other. You are the same. And I think we could do with a lot more of that at the moment, rather than less, particularly in light of some of the events that have gone on, particularly, you know, in America in the last week or so. So look after each other, take care of each other, have a great week, make the most of those Jupiter opportunities, wherever that may be for you. Enjoy Mercury flying forward, and you know, here's to the next step on the way in our life's journey, and let's hold hands and make it through together. All right, thanks very much for listening. See you later. Bye.